Welcome back, guys. After a short break, I'm back with my tea. And now, in this episode, we are going to cover something where we will build that login view as well as the already have it. Let's build that login view and the sign up view, and then associate that as part of the account builder, so that we can do that swapping between the login and the sign up views happening. So that maybe that let's make that as part of this tutorial, and then let's get started with this one. So for that, let me just go to where we are right now. We have the routing, but we don't have that logic to actually transition between login view and the sign up view. So let's bring in our modules here. We need to pass those login and sign up view through this router. That's the first thing that we'll do. Before that, let's build the required things. It's basic template stuff which we keep doing. I love doing it every time without using any template builder. This way, login presenter. Protocol, login presentation, extension, it's done. And presentation, let's keep that aside for the time being, because we are not thinking of maybe we're allowed to. Let's just create those templates now. Login router, protocol, login routing, extension for the login router, and implement the routing there. So that's done. And router requires, like always, the reference of the view controller. View controller. Import UI kit. Init view controller, UI view controller, and self.view controller will be the view controller. So that's done. Router part, at least the basic stuff is there. And let's go back to creating the builder. Login builder, same stuff. Class login builder, requires import of UI kit, function build, it should return a UI controller, and let's make it static. So that's the basic stuff we are doing right now. And we know we need to instantiate the storyboard. Grocery storyboard dot login dot instance, and let's instantiate the view. Storyboard dot instantiate with, so we already have it. Let's go and grab that. Login view is here. Storyboard identifier, that is identified. Let's go back, set that as the, and then it's typecasted to the login view controller. So that's done. Now let's just return this view. So that's the bit we need to do to create this view controller. That is done. Now let's go back to creating the associations here. Like we need to have so presenter needs to have a reference of the view control, the login view controller. Again, create that protocol, login view, make it a type class, because we will We'll be using it with the weak reference in our view, in our presenter. Extension login view controller. That's it. And then let's just associate that here, where view login view. And that's done. View controller needs to have a weak reference of the view. And within the view needs to have a presenter. Let's also build that, where presenter, it should be login presentation. It's easy now. View dot presenter is equal to presenter. We need to create that presenter. Before that, create the router. Login router accepts the view. Then let's create the presenter. Login presentation. Login presenter should accept the router here. So let's do that. Init router login routing. Router should be the router. That's done. Go there, create that again. Router, that's done. Now let's do the view.presenter part and the reverse linking, where the presenter needs to have a reference of the view. Done. So we have the dependencies ready, except the interactor use cases, which we have not yet passed because we don't have those use cases defined yet, like the login, validate, and everything. So this is at least good for the login. The login builder is ready now. Let's also do the same thing for sign up. Before that, yeah, for sign up, same things. Create the sign up presenter. And the presentation protocol. Extend it. Presentation. And then this needs to have a router reference. Before that, let's also create the view for the protocol. For the view controller, sign up view. Require view. That's done. Again, missed out class. And create the router. Sign up router. It'll feel like too much work, but the benefits in the future will be immense, where we have this clear separation of concerns. Routing. Sign up routing. And same things, view controller reference, import UI kit, let me just check that once in the login. Okay, that's done. So let's go back to the sign up presenter. It needs to have its init and pass the router. Sign up routing. F dot router is equal to router. That's done. Even in login, okay, make it private. Sign up router is done, and let's create that builder. Before that, let's create that presenter required here. Where presenter sign up presentation. That's done. Go create the builder. Sign up builder. Function build. Import UI view controller, UI kit, so that we can access UI view controller. And let's do the same stuff like storyboard, grocery storyboard dot login dot instance. Using the storyboard, instantiate your view controller with identifier. Go back there, get that identifier. Done. That's your view. All you need to do is return that view. Also make sure that you are casting it to the corresponding view controller. And also let's do the router creation. Sign up router, asking for the view. Did I just close? Yes, I did. Okay. Then presenter, sign up presentation, presenter, asking for the router, and view setting the presenter, and presenter setting its corresponding view. All done. So we have these modules ready, sign up builder and all that. Let's pass these modules to account, which is the one which will be holding these two. So in the router, let me just see what I have done in the completed project. Router. Okay, I'm passing these two login, the submodules I have created. So let's go to my and then do a type alias submodules. create those two as login module, which is nothing but returning a UI view controller, as well as a sign up module. Again, these closures are going to have more to do later when we start doing the swap. Right now I'm just keeping it empty because we don't have that feature yet. We'll add as and when we build that. So this is done now. Login and sign up modules, those two are available right now. And let's do one thing. Let's call this within the show login or show sign up. What needs to happen? Let's do that logic. Before that, we need to pass the submodules through the router instance init. Let's hold that in a variable self.submodules that's required, and so we need to pass that right now, and that should be passed here. So let's go to my actual builder and see what I have done there. So okay, so I'm just using that build right now directly. Let's break it down properly so that it's easier to read. Okay, so my login module, already I have it as login builder.build function. I just need a closure, and then I need to have the sign up module, which is again sign up builder.build closure again. So this should be fine. Cannot convert. What did I miss? Let's go back and check. Sign up builder static function. That should solve it. Succeeded. Yeah, that's fine. So now I have the account router has these dependencies now, login and the sign up modules. All that we need to do is to launch them. Let's say if I have on show login, if a router call is received on show login, I just need to launch the login screen. If I get a call to show sign up, I need to show the sign up screen. So let's do that. Let's keep that bit here so that we can do it. Okay, it's not as simple as what we thought, because there are some things, because if you see this, the login storyboard, whatever I have is a container view. This view is a container view, and these view controllers will be replaced, added and removed from this container view. That's what the logic is. The same thing I'm going to grab from whatever I have already done in the completed project, where I have that logic existing. So whatever I have is view controllers. Okay, that's for the account router. So this is account router which is having this view controller. So there is some basic things which I will add as an extension, which I already have. Just grabbing it and keeping it in this project as well. So I'll just try to explain whatever is happening there. So this is my extended functions called add and remove. This, whatever it does is it adds a child view controller to the existing view, which is the account view controller. This view controller is the account view controller associated with this router. So a child view controller can be a login screen or a sign up screen. So whenever I want to swap between these screens, I'll keep adding and removing this child So in this case, let's say if I want to show the login screen, I'll pass it as a child view controller and then add it to the parent, or in this case, which parent view controller can be the account view controller, and then add the subviews and all this regular stuff which we do with the container view. The container view implementation, if you're interested, ask me. This is something out of scope, but still, if you want to understand it, this is the basic stuff which we need to do. This kind of an implementation where you keep adding and removing the view controllers if you want to replace. So remove is like if you want to remove the earlier sign up view controller, that will be the child view controller which we will remove if it was already added to your parent view controller. So that is the logic here. We are using these two functions just to replace the current view with the new child view. So I'm going to use it here. So let's say if I have to show a login screen, it will be as simple as first remove my existing child view controller, which can be in this case it can be a sign up view. If it was already there, it should be sign up view, which should get replaced, and this login view should get added. So submodules dot sign up module should be removed. Better, I guess, I keep two variables here. It's easier to do it for the submodules. Private lazy var login view is equal to self dot submodules dot login module. I just instantiate. Similarly, private lazy var sign up view self dot submodules dot sign up module. So these two I'm just creating as a lazy variables so that I can directly use it here instead of all the time doing this. So I'm removing my sign up view first and then adding my login view. Asking for a direction. What I give that as that direction is nothing but an animation which I am adding, which I have kept right now as a transition from left to right, maybe flip from left. So it'll just flip from left. This login view will flip from left, and sign up view something like flip from right. I'll just add something like that. So similarly, when it is sign up, I'll remove the existing login view if it is existing, and then add the sign up view. And maybe transition, I'll make a strip transition from right. So both ways. So what's error? Compiles, fine. So my router functions are pretty simple. It's just whenever there is a call to show a login, I just remove the earlier one and add the login screen. Similarly, when it is a call to, let's say, sign up, show the sign up view, I'll remove the login view and show the sign up view. That's the simple logic in the router, and this is how I'm passing those two dependencies. So let's start wiring all the things which needs for this to work. So where does it all start? So it should start from somewhere like let's go back to this view. Where is my view? Login screen. So let's say this flipping of the screen should happen from, let's say I click on this button, show sign up. So it should flip to this screen. Let's say if I already have an account and I need to log in, I click on this, it needs to flip back to this view. So this gets added to this account view controller, these two view controllers. Add this, remove the other one. Add this, remove the other one. That's how it works. So whatever wiring we need to happen should happen from, let's say I already have this in the sign up view controller. When I have, let's say, on login, that means I need to show the login screen. So So this is where the flipping logic should happen. Similarly, in the view controller of login, whenever I say on sign up, what should happen? It should show the sign up screen when sign up option is chosen from a login screen. So those are the two things where we will wire up those logic. So we need to have functions both in presenters of both the sign up presenter as well as login presenter for this to happen. So let's start with on adding on switch to sign up, on switch sign up, something like that we can add. And in the other one, okay, let's implement that to here, on switch sign up. Here it should be on switch login, maybe on switch login. Nothing complicated, it's just two function calls which should happen from to the presenter from the view controller. So let's go back, get that calls being done from, let's say here, self dot presenter dot switch on switch sign up. So on sign up click from the login screen, I should switch to sign up screen. That's what I'm saying, from the view controller to the presenter. Similarly here on switch login. So these two calls are now ready to trigger those two calls. Let's go back to the sign up login. What should happen? We already have the router function. Router should say, no, we don't have a router. This is where it gets interesting, because now the control is with the account view controller, because, or at least the account router. This is where we have the logic to show the login screen or to show the sign up screen. So somehow you need to communicate back to the at least this is the parent router to both the login or sign up view controllers or sign up modules. So this needs to get a callback somehow. So that's where we need implementation in these two places, where in the login module it should say switch to login callback should happen here, or switch sign up callback should happen here. So let's implement those two right now. So go back to the router and let me add a closure here, switch sign up. Simply nothing more than this. Maybe let's just refer back whatever I have done. Nothing major, it's just a simple closure, switch sign up closure. Let me also have it here. It should be escaping. Let me also have it as a property here. Closure, switch sign up, switch sign up, same thing, just a closure. And let's instantiate that switch sign up. And what should happen? Let's create a functions, because presenter has to tell the router to do that. So we need the functions here. Create that switch sign up, or maybe just route to sign up, maybe just call that as route to sign up. So that's my function which I'll call from my presenter, and all that this will do is call this switch sign up. That's it. So let's go back to the builder, the router of login, presenter of login. Here we need to call the route to sign up. So on switch sign up, I'm just calling the route to sign up. from the login presenter. So it's all starting from this button click on sign up from the login screen, where we delegate it to the presenter to tell it that you need to ask the router to make a call to its parent router to actually make a call to load the sign up screen. So that's happening here. So you're using a delegate closure here, right? Directly closure we are passing as a dependency through this init, just calling that. So what that makes is this, where we need to have a closure passed through this builder. So you can just call it as switch sign up, same thing, same name everywhere. As a parameter we can just pass that here. Again it will ask to make it a escaping. That's done. So it started giving some errors here because this is a login module builder, and this build function needs to have that closure now. So let's do that, or at least we need to modify this. Whatever we have as a dependency here is now wrong, because it is expecting, the login module is expecting a switch sign up parameter. So let's do that right now. Iterate switch sign up Is that fine? Yeah, that's fine. So now it is triggering something here. So we need to implement that logic here. So because this is where it will start receiving. So it gave me an error already saying sign up module missing argument, which is like that closure. So it will try to implement that closure. This is where we'll get the callback. This is my account router. So whatever action happens in the login module, that switching will be received through this closure now. So I'm just implementing that. So it's just a simple closure, nothing like, can define it as simple as this login module, and maybe I can add a comment. This is where I will get callback to switch to sign up view. Pretty simple. And as soon as I receive that, all I need to do is to call the show sign up. Already we have that function here, so I can call it here, self dot show sign up. Simply doing that will make that happen. So simple, isn't it? Delegation from the login view to the parent view, which is the account router. Account router, in the sense that's where the transition is going to happen. So similar thing we can do with even the sign up view controller. We already have this. Where did I write it? Okay, this is on login. So we already have done it for the on switch sign up. We did that call to switch route to sign up. Login router did that switch sign up closure part, and the builder had this here. So similar thing, switch login we can introduce starting from in switch login. We don't have any code as yet. Go to the presenter. Let's write that function in router. Function route to login. Simple. Route to login. And again we need that closure, switch login closure, iterate escaping. Nothing major, simple thing. Private let closure self dot switch login closure sets itself to switch login closure, and all that we need to do is switch login function callback. So do we have this here? Again, we need to have it here. Pass that. Done. Are we all? Again, it will ask the same thing. We need to include in that module account router, modify this, switch login, and again this change is triggered now even here. So let's do self in self dot show login screen. That's done. Similar comment here. This is where I'll get callback to switch to login view. Pretty simple. Let me check whether that whole flow is done for login. Login view controller triggers switch here, calls the router calls the switch sign up, correct, and then builder has this dependency, and within the account builder I'll get this callback. Account router should receive it and it should say okay, now you can flip it. So that's pretty simple and done. Now let's try replacing whatever we have in the app delegate, where we in the build we are saying present where did we say that? Yeah, the presenter route to, instead let's route to the login screen. I think this is not yet complete because account view controller should load my login view as the first login screen, which is not there yet. So let's implement that and then do that, and then we can also test that swapping which we did right now. So let's go back to my account. Let me just go to my code, existing code, where I have defined something called as what should happen when the view is loading. So account builder, when it loads, let me also have something which represents view did load in the presenter side. So view did load I have here, that's implemented. So whatever should happen is when this view is loading, let the presenter also call its own view did load which we implemented. View did load done. And what should happen in view did load? In view did load, it should load my login screen, at least right now, because we don't have validation in place. So I'll just say I'll have a router function for that. Go to my routing, account routing. It's already having the show login, so I can directly call that self.router.show login. So is there a code there where it can load the show login? Let's check that. So I have this remove sign up view and load the login view. So I already have the login build. So I guess it should work now. It should at least load the login view instead right now instead of the dashboard. Let's check that once if it crashes. Crash. Okay, let's check what's going wrong. Okay, keyboard height layout constraint. I have a constraint set, I guess, which is in the, can remove that. Sign up, where do I have it? Okay, I have something called as keyboard height layout constraint, which I don't need right now because I was thinking I'll use it to shift the view. So let me just get rid of that. And whenever keyboard appears, I thought I should push this up, but then I had enough space to actually show these three views, so I don't think it's needed at this point. Pretty much it loaded. So let's walk through whatever we did now. Builder, it was earlier loading my tab bar view, but instead at this point I just pointed it to the login, to route to the login. So that's just that it came here and loaded the login view. So that's happening. Login view in turn is loading account view, which is nothing but account builder or whatever we built here. So account builder in turn on view did load, it is showing login screen. That's how it is working now. So router has it. Now let's also test the other things. What should happen when I click on this sign up view? Let's do that. See, it's working. That swapping thing, whatever I implemented, at least it's not working for login view. I think I've not associated this. Maybe let's check that. Show sign up. What happens? I don't get a call back. So let me just go to the login. Where am I? This is sign up view. Nothing coming back. So sign up view controller calls on login. Does that even come here? Comes here. Oh, see, cell.router.route to login. It should work now. Sign up. Came here. Show login. It's firing everything. So sign up, login, sign up, login works. So whatever is missing here is I have not associated or configured these controls. Let's do that as well. It's very simple. Already have this code for that. All that I need to do is in view controllers. Let's just go there. Let me just grab whatever I have. I just need to call. This is my login. Okay, let me go to the login view, and in the view did load. Already have this email account control dot. I just need to call a configure function which I have created, and say title email. Validation rule accepts an array. So what all validation rules I require? Let's say I require a required field validator. I pass that. Then if I need an email rule, that it's a valid email or not, that rule I need. So those are the two rules I'm using there, and I also define what kind of field it is. It is of type email address. Similarly, for a password field, I can configure that control using password as the title, and validation rules being something like that required rule again. Then a password rule which I already defined, and type being password. So this will take care of this control. Two things. Let's go back to sign up view controller. Similar things. Maybe I can. Okay, can I write it again? Maybe I'll grab whatever I already have, because email and password, it's going to be the same. Email control, password control, and then I have a name control. Name control dot configure name. It only needs a required rule, nothing more. And content type being what can it be? Text, basic text, or username. Yeah, so that's configuring those controls. It should at least now show me that those titles now, but validation is still pending because I need to associate that on, let's say, on this click I should validate these fields. Those I'll do right now. Login. Okay, so let's do that. Now what do we need to validate? So I need to call a presenter function to self.presenter.validate those fields. So all these fields are already associated with a protocol called field validatable. This is what I'll be passing to the other section to validate it. So let me just grab whatever I have already. So let me just grab this validate function within the login presentation. Let's go to my login presentation. I have something called as a validate function, which will ask for all the fields which needs to be validated, and it will have a completion block which will return saying whether validation succeeded or not. That's what I'm going to do, implement it here. And the piece of code is as simple as, it's a simple validation. So all that I need to do is I'll just use that whatever I have implemented. Okay, let me just use self dot okay, let's go to the view controller, and then let's say on login what should happen. Self dot presenter dot, I just say validate those fields. So I'll pass all those fields which I need to validate. This is a login screen. So email account control and password account control are the two parameters. So this is asking for a type field validatable. So these controls are actually conforming to the field validator protocols. So that's the reason I'm able to directly send this. So what should happen on completion? It'll just say whether it is valid or not. So that's the whole thing which will happen here. So it's like if is valid, then we will proceed with login API call. So if it's not valid, we'll just show some error message saying, this failed. Let's not proceed. So validate is what I have right now. So within the presenter, what is the implementation that we need? Let's go there to the presenter. It should use all these fields, validate those fields, and respond back to the view controller if it is invalid. So let's do that. So I have a simple logic here for that. So I have all the fields. That's my field, and field whatever each field has its own validation rule. So I'm just using whatever I have. It's an interesting control which I have created. So if you want to know what happens there, you can ask me. I'll create a different tutorial for that. So each field has something called as a validation rule. So I'll go through each and every validation rule and validate it against the field's validation text, which is nothing but whatever you are entering. So it's nothing. If you go there, that control is just returning. Where I'm going again. This is my validation text. Within that control, where am I going? Okay, here. This is my validation text. It's nothing but the input field text property. So that's my validation text, the text which I need to validate. So this validate function will return a boolean, nothing more. So if this rule is not valid, then I need to say it's invalid and return. So maybe I'll just create a variable is valid is equal to true. It's easier if it's even, you can do it using some filter or something, but I guess I thought I'll do it the old-fashioned way here, where as soon as you find that some field is invalid, you just come out of this function and say return, call this completion and say, oh, already it's invalid, so let's not proceed with the login flow. So it returns right here with setting its value as invalid false. So that's what is happening here. And now if it is invalid, then there should be an option to update the view with that invalidation. So for that we can use the old approach again. In the view we need to have a function update invalid fields. Maybe I think a simpler one. It'll just go and update all the fields which are invalid. Implement that. All that we need to do is, let me also grab that whatever I have implemented. It's simple thing, because my control already has email control dot set error message and password control set error message. So this will anyway, if there are no errors also, it'll just set it to an empty message, so we can just call it even if there are no errors. So that's what I'm doing. As soon as I validate it, even if it is invalid, so that I can clear the earlier messages, I'll just call self.view.update invalid fields. So this will just directly go and set the invalid fields, or even if there are no validation errors, it will at least update those fields with those empty values. That's the intention. Just call it as soon as the validation rules are being validated with the validation text. That being completed, we also need to show some message. That's why I have a field in the view where it will just display what kind of error message. If some field, some validation has failed, it will just go and update that. So that's something. If is valid, what should I do? So let's do that. Go back to my implementation. So I'll just do an update progress, which is nothing but a good way of updating your controls with some status. Let's say if it is a login button, I'll just say logging in and then disable that control until that operation is complete, something like that. So let's do that update progress, and with a message and is completed status. Maybe that I don't need this message part, I just need is completed or something, boolean type. Let's implement that as well. Okay, this should be part of the view, not the presenter. Simply here update progress. Okay, whatever I have there, let me just grab that. Okay, so it's more like login button. In this case it's a login button if it is enabled, based on whether that process is complete or not. And login button, we can set the title to, if okay, I can just move, set the title based on whether it is completed or not. So I'll just say login, and if not, I'll say logging in. So these two states based on its completion. And email control, password control, So pretty simple. Here the validation rules, based on if it is valid, then I might just update it to, okay, if I don't think we should set that right now, because okay, we can't do that right now. We can actually call to validate it and all, but then it'll stop my view from, it'll disable my view, because it does not call the API after this validation has happened. So if it is valid, I can just say start the button changes to, let's say, logging in, and disable that. But once we do that, we'll not be able to access the application after. So at least I'm stopping that part right now at this point, because I will have to implement those HTTP calls for other things. Like on completion, I enable that login button again, all that things to work. So at least I'll update those up in invalidation fields right now, and we'll stop at that for this episode. And after that, I'll come back pretty soon with the next one. So let me just complete this part. So update invalid fields. So it's anyway going to update those fields. So similar thing I need to do for validate. Let me just grab this to the presenter of SignUp, and then I need to grab this and include it as part of this presentation. That's done. Update field is something I need to add again, so let me go and grab that as well. It's the same feature for, even if it is like let me include both. Even if it is sign up or login, it's the same feature. So let me go there and update those two. Stubs ready, and here it should be update invalid fields. Let me just go and grab it. Update invalid, done. That's done. I'm not doing anything with the update progress as yet, because that will just block my UI. So implementation wise, it even this has this. So sign up and login both has those validations. So let's just run and see whether those validations are working. Perfect. Required field. See, it says invalid field. Password key needs 6 to 8 characters. It works fine now. See, all the validation errors are gone. Now this part where we click on login, it should start the real login HTTP calls to happen, because now it's valid, right? So that's the next step we will do in the next episode. Before that, let's just also test with no via this sign up. Let's check that. Okay, we not wire that. Presenter out. Validate all those fields. Name control, email control, and password control. Closures is valid. So this is where, after this is valid, we'll call a presenter call to HTTP API to make the sign up happen. So that'll happen. And similar thing here is valid. Again, we'll proceed with the login API call once this is successful, if it is valid. Both cases, if valid. So let's do a final run before we wind up this episode. Episode 2, it's been a long episode, both of the episodes. So I'm coming back soon with the third and fourth. Maybe that will end this tutorial. This is fine. This is also working. Required field. Invalid. perfect, all things valid, so sign up should work now. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this episode, where I just wanted to see that swap thing happening between the login and sign up screens, and basically show you how that routing needs to happen. Let's say if it is coming from different view controller, which are actually the children to this parent view controller, which is account view controller, which is more like a container view. So that swapping and then delegation back to its parent was something which I wanted to actually show in this episode. Hope this was helpful. The rest of the things are pretty much like having those API calls happening and then routing it back to the window router, where we will again do something similar to whatever we did now, where it will navigate. Once it is valid, it will navigate to the home view controller. And pretty interesting things with how you can actually keep the user logged in using a refresh token mechanism. Those things are coming up soon. So until the next episode, keep watching, keep subscribed, and if you have any queries, come back to me through the comment section. Full access to the code is available to Patreon site, so you can go and grab it from there. That will be kind of a support to running my channel and keeping up with the good content that I'm bringing up every week, at least trying to bring it every week. So until the next one, happy tutorials watching. Bye.